Ladies and gentlemen, I hold in front of you one of the oldest trains I have ever found. This is a one-of-a-kind Coca-Cola Express. Now, for those of you who may be questioning already the size of this locomotive, this is not an HO model. This is actually an ON3 model from what my research shows, which means this locomotive is actually only a third of the size of O scale. And I will be, at some point, grabbing a model to show you the difference between this model and HO models. This particular model of locomotive is a 260, I believe, is that a 280? Or no, it's a 260. Sorry, my mistake. I can barely see the wheels because of the glare. It is a 260 wheel arrangement. If I remember correctly, that is a 260 mogul wheel arrangement. This locomotive, I don't have a lot of history on it because I've only just started researching where this engine came from, but I believe it was made by a company who was collaborating with Coca-Cola. I will have to look up all of this stuff because some of the papers have gotten lost in transit for this barn find. But this locomotive is extremely rare as far as I know. And in such condition as this current model, it is actually surprising to see that it has survived from where I found it. It was in my mother's chicken coop, and it was there for many years. It was also up in the attic for many years when I was just a child, and I only ever saw this unit once, and I wanted to play with it, but it was a collector's edition item, so my mother said no. Years later, I found out that this was owned by one of my other family members. I cannot remember which family member owned the locomotive, but they kept it in very good condition for several years and then returned it to my mother to protect it. And now it is under my care because obviously I am a big railroad fan. Starting with the lead unit, I do not have my little pointer with me, so bear with me, my fingers will be very large to this locomotive. This plate up here reads, I gotta zoom in for this. It reads, Coca-Cola thanks you for your purchasing, I believe, of the product. But yes, this locomotive is in a Christmas scheme, so it is in red, green, and silver with gold trim. This cowcatcher is absolutely beautiful. I am surprised, like I've said numerous times, that some of the intricate little details have survived. Now, I've tested this just a little bit just to make sure that none of the circuitry is busted, and it does in fact have an operating headlight. This headlight is a recreation of an oil lamp. They would have lit the lamp during the night times and ran the locomotives. Next to it, you can see these very intricate painted on and hand painted, separately applied lamp irons. This engine is definitely based off of an older 1800s model of steam locomotive. It is very old-fashioned. Right behind it, we have the sand dome. I believe this is the sand dome, and behind it is the bell. We also have this beautiful smokestack, which is a solid smokestack, which is good because I don't want liquid inside of this locomotive. You can see along the sides, if I focus in here, you can see that the Coca-Cola is still present on the side of the locomotive. It is astonishing how well this engine was kept in pristine condition like this. And on the very side over here, you can kind of see Kris Kringle himself is on the locomotive. And on top of the steam dome, we have a whistle, and in front of it is the dynamo. Moving the locomotive forward, we can take a look at this amazingly designed Coca-Cola tender. Now, one thing that I cannot figure out or understand is what this wire went to. It is not an electrical wire. There is no attachment of electricity within the wire, but it appears that it was attached to something at some point. And that is the only thing I can't figure out. I'm wondering if it was maybe attached to like a Christmas tree or something along those lines. Or maybe it had the reindeer or what have you. But I have not found any evidence of that string actually existing on the model originally. So I don't know why it's there. But this is a beautiful Coca-Cola tender that is reminiscent of the olden days. It is absolutely astonishing. Absolutely beautiful. Moving even further down the train, we have this Coca-Cola gondola. And like I said, all of these are in pristine mint condition. There is dust on them, but I am working in the process of slowly and carefully cleaning them off because they are in beautiful condition like this. But it is this beautiful red and green Coca-Cola bottled train car. It even has the original Coca-Cola logo on both sides, and the trim on this is amazing. Now, what I think is really weird is that all of these cars have metal wheels, so none of them have any plastic wheels on them whatsoever. It is astonishing to see metal wheels on an old model. Moving down the train once again, we have this one-of-a-kind, as far as I know, Coca-Cola boxcar. There are two Coca-Cola boxcars on this train. This boxcar particularly reads delicious and refreshing on the boxcar doors. And I cannot believe the detail on this. There are little windows on the front that open up. The doors open up, and you can see inside, and I will demonstrate that very carefully if I can. Oh, that door is not wanting to open. This door does open. I know they both do. I have seen it. They will both open, and it is incredible to watch them open. Now, I'm not going to force them to open, but I did slide that door shut a little bit ago. But we will move on to the second boxcar here. This second boxcar is a little bit more green. It says Coca-Cola, the pause that refreshes or something like that. I cannot read it very well. It is in cursive. I'm not good at reading in cursive. But it is a, like I said, beautiful, absolutely beautiful train car. And now we're going to move on to my personal favorite of all the train cars. This is hands down my favorite car. This is the Coca-Cola passenger car, combination coach, and of course, the doors open on this car. It is an amazing model. Now, of course, this car, like I said, I'm in the process of cleaning all of these, so they may not look the best, but in real life, they look amazing. And on the side, obviously, we have the famous ice cold top on the Coca-Cola. On the top of the car, you can't see it because I'm not going to move the camera due to glare. You can see that you would see that there's Coca-Cola symbols on both ends of the car. Also, lower underneath the windows is the Coca-Cola logo. Santa Claus himself is on this side of the Coca-Cola car. And then we have a bottled Coca-Cola that says, "Drink Coca-Cola." And this is obviously one of the coolest cars I have ever seen. It's also one of the largest ON3 models. It's the only ON3 model car I have ever owned in my existence. And it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful model. I cannot emphasize beautiful enough. Now, purely for the sake of attempting to protect this model of locomotive as much as possible, I'm only going to run this locomotive as little as possible. I do not want to attempt to even slightly damage it within operating. And as I've checked on this locomotive, there is no decoder on this locomotive. There is no DCC, and there is no way to communicate with the locomotive via a controller or wireless transmission. It is exclusively analog control, which is beautiful. I don't have a lot of old style locomotives that run like that, and some of the newer models I have run like that, which is incredible. But getting to see one like this is amazing. Now I'm going to go get another model to show you the comparison between the sizes. So I went searching and I found one of my HO pieces. I found 7802, which does appear to be in slightly better condition than normal. All right, so now that the two engines are side by side, You can kind of see that this one is slightly taller than the diesel locomotive model. And of course, this is not, like I said, the greatest comparison, but you can tell this engine is, if I was to move this closer, slightly bigger than the HO model. So this is definitely an ON3 model, and you can take a look at all of the cars like so. You can even see my layout once again, which we haven't seen in forever. But today's focus is exclusively on this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous CocaCola locomotive. It is beautiful. And now, just to prove that the locomotive works, I'm going to take it for a very, very, very brief maneuver so you can watch all of the cars go by. This engine, I'm so glad, got to see the light of day again, and I'm also glad that I got to be the one to restore it slightly to make it operational. But as of today, this will be the one and only time this locomotive will ever run on this layout. You will not see this locomotive run on this layout in the near future. You will not probably see it ever in the future. The only time you may see it is when I use it to decorate and, you know, show it off at certain conventions and stuff like that. But this locomotive I refuse to allow to run. Now, coming up in another review, I'm going to show off a spoiler of what we might be reviewing. We have in the background here several options of what we may be reviewing. However, the only clue I'm going to give, if it'll stay in frame, we are using a Bachmann product next. Thank you all for joining me on this video. I am surprised beyond all love and enthusiasm that this particular piece of machinery is still in such a beautiful condition and still to this day functioning. It is unbelievable. And this piece will be going directly onto a shelf in my house, and it will never move. I will never operate it again after this point. And if you folks want to see this locomotive in person, good luck, because I don't know where to find any of these ever. It was an extremely lucky find for me. So thank you all for joining me on this little review of the Coca-Cola Express. And if you're upset by the way I say Coca-Cola, please forgive me. If you want me to pronounce it phonetically, it's Coca-Cola. But thank you for joining me on this little trip, and we'll catch you next time in the next video.